Hello there, boys and girls, and welcome to It's a Shaw Thing. I'm your host, Rob Shaw. We're talking some college football, and the list gets a little bit longer. Georgia, Southern Cal, Oklahoma, and now it's Texas, the number one team in the nation. Let's talk about those moving on up. You have to like what Oklahoma State did this past weekend. Penn State, Florida, all performed very, very well as far as those struggling out there. Vanderbilt, tough loss. Same goes for Wisconsin, and of course, LSU. Now we're set with a different top three, and we have to ask ourselves, are they legit? Well, let's start off with number one, Texas. If there was a complaint for them coming into this weekend, it's that they haven't played enough good opposition. Well, when you go to the number one team in the nation and you defeat the number one team in the nation by 10 points, I guess that argument goes out the door. So what does that mean? What can we expect? Well, their quarterback Colt McCoy had an issue coming into the season. Some thought he was a little wild, perhaps a little plagued by some interceptions. Not the case this past weekend. He didn't throw any. It also helps having a nice ground attack. And Chris Agbanaya, also sensational, only about 15 carries, over 120 rushing yards. The team looks pretty legit when it comes to offense. They have yet to score fewer than 38 points so far this year. All right, so we talked about the schedule earlier. What do they have coming up? Well, it gets a little difficult, my friends. They play 4 top 20 teams in the next 5 weeks. Now, I think they're going to be all right in 3 of them. The team that concerns me, their November 1st date at Texas Tech. Well, that, my friends, will be a tough one. I do not believe that Texas will survive. I do not see this team as a top team for the remainder of the season. We'll have to wait till November 1st to find out for sure. All right, next up, Alabama, ranked number 2 in the nation. I guess that argument has to be thrown out there. How is it possible for a team to actually be surpassed without this team actually going on the field? If that was the case for Alabama, they didn't take this field. They had the bye this past weekend, and Texas goes above them. Well, perhaps people are still remembering their most recent contest. That was against Kentucky when they barely won by just a field goal. So Alabama, I guess, has that up their sleeves. And the team has had a couple of nice wins. They beat Clemson back when they were ranked number 9 in the nation. They took care of Georgia when they were ranked 3 in the nation. But what do they have to come up right now? They are 6-0. And it's a somewhat soft schedule. They play against Ole Miss. That's a team that they should defeat. Tennessee has been a disappointment in the SEC. In fact, they haven't won a game in the SEC so far this season. And then things get a little difficult. They're going to be playing against the Tigers, who, by the way, didn't look all that ferocious this past weekend against Florida. Before that game, they do play against Arkansas State. So they will probably get to 9-0. If they do defeat LSU, they continue that trend, and then they play against Mississippi State, Auburn, 2 teams that have struggled in the SEC, even though Mississippi State actually has been pretty impressive defensively recently. So what happens now if Alabama does go on and go undefeated in the SEC, which I believe they will do? Well, then they have to play in that big SEC title game, and I think they will lose in that one. It might be Georgia, it might be Florida. I think the winner on the east side will be decided in the cocktail party. Whoever it ends up being goes against Alabama. My opinion is that Alabama will fall in that one. They got off to a nice start. Perhaps they're a little lucky against Georgia. If they have to play them a second time, or if they have to play that Florida team, I think the result will be very, very different. So I do not see Alabama as the number 2 team in the nation by the time that the season does come to an end. All right, ranked number 3 right now, Penn State. Good for them. Joe Pa doing very well with his squad these days. They won 48-7 at Wisconsin. It's embarrassing for Wisconsin as much as it is a success for Penn State. Now, this is the thing you have to know about them. They're playing against Michigan, which should be an all-right win for them, assuming that they do have things go according to plan. The one challenge for them will be Ohio State. They're playing that team on the road. Ohio State's still a much better team than above average, so they're a very good quality program. We'll see what they could do there. In my opinion, that might dictate the season. You look at this team so far, Penn State, they've been so good. 38 touchdowns they've scored. They have allowed 9. That's ridiculous. As far as yards, they actually have just about 2 times as many yards as they have allowed so far this season. So they're doing incredible so far. A lot of respect to Darrell Clark at quarterback. Guys yet to throw an interception so far. Also rushed in a couple of touchdowns this past weekend. On the ground, you have to like what Evan Royster is doing so far. This is a guy who's certainly up for the Heisman, averaging over 100 yards per game. 9 touchdowns in 7 games played so far. He is the key to that offense. You have to like that. Now, the one issue you don't have to like, the Big Ten. In my opinion, this is a weak year for the Big Ten. Just look at Michigan. They're struggling immensely. Ohio State's been all right, even though they do have the big loss so far this season. So Ohio State, really the only challenge for Penn State I think they'll win. I think they'll take care of Ohio State at Ohio State. Penn State, in my mind, will remain in the top 3 this season. I think they might have a chance at playing in a championship game. In fact, I do think they will do so. As far as some other teams that might be able to make it there, Oklahoma State, probably not, but you have to give them credit. They've been playing superb so far. They certainly do have an outside shot. Texas Tech, I mentioned them before, playing against Texas later on November 1st. I think that's a team that has a legit shot. Their offense is superb. It's just about making sure that they have more opportunities and having their defense push for some interceptions and some turnovers. And then the SEC. I think that there's probably going to be a team in the SEC represented. It could be the Florida Gators. In my mind, that's a team that's looked the strongest so far, even though they do have that one loss, that one blemish on their record. As far as Georgia, again, a bad blemish on their record. But if they could defeat Florida in the cocktail party, then I think that's going to be the team that has a definite shot at a national championship game. And this way, their fans can't complain, hey, we missed out 2 years in a row. Well, my friends, that is It's a Shaw Thing for now. Come back on Thursday here at opensports.com, and I'll preview the big games coming up this weekend. Until then, hey, have a good week.
So you think you can tackle a pro? There's only one way to find out. Click on fantasy at opensports.com.